Most people think that quality is superior to quantity when it comes to making the best music you can. And that might be the worst advice I've heard in the industry. And I totally get it. You've heard this over and over and over, that the quality of your work is way more important than the quantity of your work. So it's easy to believe. So there's this famous study of an experiment of two separate pottery classes. Both of them were challenged with making the best vase that they can in one semester. One class focused on quality, so they focused on making the single best vase that they can for the entire semester. The other class focused on quantity, and they focused on making as many vases as possible throughout the whole semester. And the results were drastically in favor of the class who focused on quantity. And this can seem very counterintuitive. We've been told over again, and we hear it all over the place, that quality is more important than quantity. However, here are some examples of quantity over quality in the music space. Quincy Jones talking about making Thriller with Michael Jackson, one of the most selling albums of all time, said something along the lines that the process of making Thriller was this rocket ship of an experience where it all came together in a matter of months, and they picked the best 10 songs out of hundreds of songs. Aphex Twin, who's an amazing electronic artist who's pioneered many different sounds and genres and is very influential in that style, and he has an album called Selected Ambient Works from 85 to 92, and the key word of that is selected, because from that time period, from 85 to 92, he posted something like 750 tracks on SoundCloud and selected the best ones to make that influential album. A few other examples of super prolific artists who leverage quantity to get quality is Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, all the classics. So it's time to finally shatter this false belief system. Not only is it a false belief, but it can severely cripple your output and even the quality of your music. So how do you actually go about making the best music that you can? You guessed it right. Focus on quantity. All right, number one is more music equals better music. So one of the biggest reasons why this is true is this idea of curation. So if we take the typical music producer and their workflow and their approach to making music, they will focus on one track at a time and really work and discipline themselves and force that track to be finished. However, in the environment of only focusing on one piece of work, you quickly lose perspective as to what is good and what isn't good. However, on the flip side, if you focus on making 10 or 20 tracks in broad strokes without going too far into the details, just by the process of curation, which means finding the best pieces of music within the 10 or 20 pieces, you're going to be starting from a point of way higher quality right from the beginning. Then you can move on to develop and get into the details. Another thing to notice about this is our idea of quality always comes from comparison. All right, so if you're only working on one track, you're comparing that to your memory and your thoughts about the track and whatever other music you're listening to at the time. However, if you have many tracks that you're working on and you've created a ton of things to listen to, now you're comparing your music and you're going to be able to easily pick which one of those pieces stand up above the rest. Another reason why more music equals better music is because you're going to get way more experience doing. All right, you're going to be trying different ideas, different motifs, different approaches, different games, having fun. And through that, you're going to get refined techniques and refined tastes as to what is working for you and what you like. So if we think back to the pottery example, the class that focused on quantity had more opportunity to try different techniques and different approaches. And yes, fail and make mistakes, but they learn from those mistakes and refine those techniques. And at the end of the day, they got way better results than the people who hyper-focused on perfectionism and working on one single vase. And as a consequence of that, by taking more action, you're going to learn skills faster. You're going to get better at arranging songs. You're going to get better at developing motifs, at idea generation, even at editing and mixing, because you're working on more music. All right, number two is finishing music versus releasing music, and how those aren't necessarily the same thing. You might be asking yourself, well, great, Alex, yeah, I can focus on quantity, but I don't want to release crap. I'm sure you could come up with 100 reasons why you don't want to throw half-assed creations out in the world. However, this would be making huge assumptions of what you're truly capable of. It's also another false assumption that you actually have to release everything you finish. Some creations aren't meant to be shared. All great artists, all the ones you look up to, that you're inspired by, that you aspire to become in your own way similar to them, have done the reps. All right, if you research into some of your favorite artists, most likely they have finished way more music than they've released. Those finished pieces of music may not be fully fleshed out productions, right? They might be demos, they might be voice memos, sketches, loose drafts, or maybe they're finished productions that just didn't make the cut. I even remember Rick Rubin, world famous producer, recommend that you write 2.5 as many songs as you plan on releasing. So for example, if you plan on releasing 10 songs, he recommends that you write 25 songs and pick the best 10. All right, so we want to get it straight up in our minds that getting 10 good enough tracks will get you way farther than one perfect track, because that perfect track doesn't exist. And just like we've been saying this whole video, is that taking action and getting quantity will actually get you to quality a lot quicker than hyper focusing on quality and avoiding quantity. All right, and we like to think that quality and reaching for the stars is a great thing, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We always want to do our best. We want to stretch our capabilities and shoot for the stars. However, hyper focusing on quality or hyper focusing on some idea that you have about your music can actually be a trap. Why? Because it stops you from finishing music. Whether it's perfectionism, fear of judgment, self-doubt, all of those things are fears around finishing music and it not living up to your expectations about what you think your music should be. However, having a habit of not finishing songs is something you definitely do not want in your creative process. Why? Because it robs you of the opportunity of learning from your unperfect finished song. Again, finishing a song, whether or not you decide to release it or not, will be the best way for you to level up your skills and level up your music overall. If you always quit or give up on working on a song when things get difficult, then you're never going to build the habit of pushing through those moments and you're never going to finish anything. All right, so you want to become a habitual finisher. All right, you want to finish music as a habit, as part of your process. And let's be honest, none of us want to be an amateur artist. All of us have a deep desire to be great. And that fear of failure around something we love can be the thing that leads us to greatness or leads us to mediocrity. It's all a matter of how you look at it and how you react to that feeling. So what are you going to choose? So let me ask you, do you want to keep hyper focusing on quality and obsessing over getting something perfect and never getting anything done? Or do you want to take massive action with imperfect quantity and see quality come as a natural result? So if you'd like to learn more about a process that will help you leverage quantity to get you closer to quantity, all while developing your own unique style and laying out the whole production process for you, A to Z, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that'll help you go from your very first ideas all the way to a finished master. And you can find it in the description if you're interested. If you got value out of this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to stay in tune for the next MetaMind Music transmission, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let me know. What do you think about quality versus quantity? What do you think is the better choice, focusing on quantity or focusing on quality? I'd love to hear in the comments down below. And with that said, I will see you in the next video.